Hi everybody, this is Robert with Odd Random Thoughts, and today I'm going to show you how to make really killer looking images that you can use for your social sharing networks. You can post them to Facebook, Twitter, whichever one you prefer. This is really easy tutorial, but it makes some really nice looking images custom with gradients and such. So let's get started. First of all, I'm using Photoshop CS5. What we want to do is we want to go to File and create a new document. We're going to call this one Work Stops, and you'll understand that here a little bit later. But anyway, we want to make sure usually a good width and height is 500 pixels on each end, 72 pixels per inch resolution, and you can see the other settings here, pretty basic. Everything should default to what it should be besides your width and height. So go ahead and click OK, and it's going to open up your canvas. Okay, so this is your layers over here. This is going to control your background image. If you double click in here, we'll just call this background. Hit enter. Okay, now you can pick whatever color you choose over here. I'll just start with black, and we want to move that over here. If you hit Control backspace, that will color your background. Okay, now we want to double click on this layer. It's going to open up the layer styling. Just for this image, we're going to use a gradient overlay. If you click here, as you can see, it creates an automatic gradient, but if we click on that gradient, it'll show us what colors are on each end of that gradient. So let's double click here, and we'll pick a blue. Let's go with a dark blue on this end. Click OK, and on this end we'll pick a lighter blue. Let's go with this color. Okay, as you can see, the gradient is very subtle. You can choose any contrast you want or any of the presets above. Now you'll notice this little dot here in the middle. This is where you can control the amount of each color that's in your gradient. So we can either give it more dark or we can give it more light. So let's just kind of pull it somewhere in here. Gives it a nice looking fade. Click OK, and then OK one more time. Now what we're going to do with this image is we're just going to make a simple quote on here, just a little one-liner that you can post. Let's go ahead and use our text tool. Click on the T here in the toolbar and click on the image. Okay, now let's start off with a bus station is where a bus stops, period. Okay, if we go back to our select tool, then we can arrow that over to where it fits in the image. You can move it up or down. If you hold shift, it'll make larger jumps in whichever direction. Okay, so now let's go ahead and click on the text tool one more time, and down here we'll type a train station is where a train stops, period. Okay, now as you can see, this line is a little bit too long to fit in that area. So if you hold Control and hit T, it's going to open a box that surrounds your text. This will allow you to shrink it or enlarge it, whatever size you choose. If you hold the Shift key down, this will allow everything to stay proportionate. And just grab the corner while holding Shift and move it in. When it's where you want it, just hit Enter and it will hold those properties. Okay, so for our third line, we'll come in with our text tool, and we'll type on my desk I have a workstation, period. You can see where this is going. Okay, so this is just a silly little one-liner that I came across that I thought was kind of had a nice ring to it. But that looks kind of plain, doesn't it? So I think what we'll do, we'll go ahead and move this line down, give us a little room here. We're going to hit our text tool, and we're just going to highlight this end and Control X to cut that out. Then if you go back to your direct select tool to release that line, click on your text tool again, click in the box and hit Control V. That will paste that portion of the line. Okay, we're just going to make these lines all a little bit smaller so we'll have a little more room to work. So we'll do the same thing here. Control X, hit our select and our text tool, repaste that portion. And then we'll do the same thing down here. This will even everything out just a bit, give us more room to work with each line. Okay, now as I said, the text, it looks rather dull. Control T, we're going to go ahead and bring this one back to size to match the others, and enter. Okay, so we'll click on the line here and we'll double click on it to bring up the layer styling. Now what we're going to do, since we've got this line selected in the layers, is we're going to give it a little character, I guess you could say. So let's go with bevel and emboss. As you can see how the text changed. If you click on that, you can adjust the properties for that. So let's enlarge this a little so we can see it better. If you hold Control and hit plus or minus, that will zoom in or zoom out your image. Now let's go with the size. We'll move it slowly. You can see it changing the text. We'll go ahead and soften that up a little bit. We'll give it an inner bevel, be good, smooth. Let's add a little contour to that. Okay, now let's choose an outer glow. Okay, now this, we can control the spread, the size, whatever you like. Okay, if we soften the opacity, that'll make it a little less intense. Okay, so you see how you can control each property of the text. This line we could actually give a drop shadow. One thing you can do is bring the distance away or closer, make it a little larger. Okay, now you can change the color of your text at any point by clicking up here, and let's see, we could go with a red, even change it to a red color. Sometimes the different colors will react better to the properties. See, if we bevel this one, soften that up a little bit, give it some depth, click OK. See, and that looks a little bit better too. But anyway, you see how you can do this. You can create any kind of effects on the text that you want. You can actually give it another color overlay. You can do it this way if you choose, or if you want to just give it a regular gradient, you can pick, just like you did for the background, you can pick any colors that you want. We'll come over here, pick a lighter red, click OK, and then we can actually bevel that, give it some contour, and maybe even a drop shadow on that one. So you see, it's real easy to create these really cool looking graphic images, and you can put anything you want in there, of course. And I hope this has been helpful. I think it's a little more interactive way to post comments, and sometimes these kind of images can go viral, as you've seen many images all over the web that people have posted with little sayings and one-liners in them. So anyway, this is Robert with Odd Random Thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you soon.